In 2016, when my grandmother and grandfather decided to expand their house, we moved into their home. I was 9 years old at the time. They had built the house themselves in the early 90s, and it stood in the middle of a 5-acre piece of land just outside the town. We were surrounded by forests and wide open fields, and a slow-moving muddy creek ran along our southern border. 2 sides of our property bordered our only neighbor's land. It was a crooked and uneven piece of property. The house on it looked like it was sinking into the ground. It was really very old. It had been built in the early 1900s, and over the years, rooms had constantly been added onto it, as if someone had randomly stapled a few rooms together. Its exterior had yellowed and softened, and no matter how sunny it was, it always looked damp. The yard was a complete wreck, filled with vine-covered bushes, broken decorative fountains, headless garden gnome statues, and plastic bags that had been there for years. In the middle of the grass, a rusty lawn mower sat there, as if it had been forgotten in the middle of a half-finished job. When you passed in front of that house, you would unconsciously hold your breath. At that time, 2 elderly sisters, Vivian and Audrey, were living there, along with their 3 grandchildren. Vivian was a quiet woman. She always sat in the same green chair and watched the trees. Audrey was a bit more active, but it was clear that every step hurt. They were both over 70 years old. One of the grandchildren was around my age, Logan, while the other 2, Alana and Kaylee, were the same age as my sister. Logan was strange. I didn't really like him, but since we were in the same class, we often had to hang out together. He would take advantage of that and come to our house without permission, walking in without knocking. I'd look up and find him standing right in the middle of my room. One day I looked out into the yard and saw him in our old concrete pool, collecting water and splashing it with his hands. Another day, he had gone into the kitchen, taken the leftover pie from the fridge, and started eating it with his hands. He wasn't fun to be around. He would talk about demons and charms, and on some nights he would say, "They are calling me." I would laugh, but he never did. Sometimes his eyes would change in a way that made it seem like someone else was inside him. Once he picked up garden shears and chased me. Even when he said I was just joking, the smile on his face never changed. The twin girls were very quiet. Their clothes were dirty, and they were hard to understand when they spoke. It was obvious that no one at home was taking care of them. Their father was in prison, and one day I met their mother, Tiffany. I first saw her trying to attach a hose to the faucet by the side of the yard. She was a tall, heavily built woman. She had curly black hair and thick-framed glasses, but unlike the rest of her family, her hair was always neatly combed, and her clothes were always spotless. She smiled when she saw me and said the faucet was stuck, then asked if I could help her. I went over and turned it, and it opened easily. "Well done," she said. "You're so strong." Then she looked straight into my eyes and asked, "Has anyone ever told you that your third eye is open?" I didn't understand what she meant. "My third eye?" I asked. She smiled and said, "Not everyone has one. It's a spiritual eye, you see the truth with it." She turned and started walking away. "Come, let me show you something," she said, and curiosity got the better of me, so I followed her. The moment I stepped inside the house, a heavy smell hit me, rotten food, mildew, and something else I couldn't identify. The place was a mess, bags everywhere, dirty dishes, ripped garbage bags, and stained couches. I wanted to leave, but Tiffany grabbed my wrist and pulled me upstairs. Her room looked nothing like the rest of the house. The walls were pink, and the carpets were spotless. There were porcelain dolls on the shelves, and in the corner sat a copper tray with a seal covered in strange symbols. There was also a thick leather-bound book, and the moment I saw the symbol on it, my stomach turned. My family was religious, and even though I didn't fully understand what that symbol meant, I could feel that it wasn't something good. As I looked around, I noticed the same symbol on other things too, in the corner of the mirror, on the edge of the carpet, even carved into the wooden floor. I jumped to my feet and said, "My mom is calling me, I have to go," and ran out without even waiting for a response. Years passed, and in 2019, Audrey died of a heart attack at home. Her funeral was held at the local church. The family was silent. Only a woman I had never seen before sat in the second row, sobbing uncontrollably, but no one even looked at her. That year, Logan disappeared. According to the rumors, he had pulled a knife on one of his siblings and was later admitted to a psychiatric hospital. I never learned the full details, but that night my parents sat us down and said, "You are never going near that house again." Then the family moved away. Only Vivian remained, living alone in that decaying house with her aging body, and in 2020 she too died alone. A while later, my elementary school teacher, Mrs. Simmons, and her husband bought the house. They tore down most of the house, but they left the part that had been Tiffany's room untouched. She invited us over and said, "Come see how we renovated it." It really looked beautiful, fresh paint and brand new furniture everywhere. But when we went upstairs, I felt a tightness in my chest. The moment I stepped into the room, I felt it. Even though the floor was covered with carpet, it seemed like that seal was still there beneath the wood. "My head hurts a little," I said. Mrs. Simmons looked disappointed because she had expected me to stay for dinner. I never went back to that house again, until last year when she asked me to check on it for a few days. I agreed. It was an easy job. Every evening I would go there, lock the doors, turn off the lights, and leave. The first 4 days were quiet, but on the last night, just as I was about to leave, one of the dogs started barking toward the stairs. The other one backed away and whined. I looked toward the corner, but there was no one there. Then I heard a sharp creaking sound from upstairs, once, then again, and this time it was louder and harsher. I ran toward the door and slammed it shut behind me. As I was walking home, the feeling didn't go away. It was like someone was following me. Now it's 2025. I hadn't heard anything about that family for years, until recently when someone told me they had seen Tiffany in another state. She had become some kind of spiritual advisor, writing amulets and charms for women. She was traveling from town to town saying, "My eye is open, I see the truth." I don't believe her. There's something dark in that woman. She neglected her children, left her mother to rot in that house, and I think she brought something into that house. Something dark and unseen, and it's still there. Sometimes at night I see her and Logan in my dreams. They're standing at the foot of my bed, just watching me silently. They never say a word. Whenever I pass in front of that house, the same chill runs through me. Even though the paint and furniture have been replaced, I still believe there's something inside it.